welcome to Your Mac Life for Wednesday, August the 21st, year 2019, show number 1225. As always, I'm your host, Shawn King.
I'm Melissa King.
How you doing?
Good.
Good. On tonight's show, we'll talk to our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop about Siri, the Apple Card, and a bunch of other stuff. We're also going to talk, something screwed up. I screwed up. It's just me. It was me. All right, I'll take the blame. I'll take the hit. I screwed up 2 weeks ago on the audio of the show, and it was completely unusable. So we're going to kind of repeat that show. And we're going to, in our starting point photography segment, going to talk about the 2019 IPPA Awards, the iPhone Awards, iPhone Photography Awards. And we mostly didn't like them. And we'll talk about that later on the show. Melissa has a question.
Oh, I have a question, yes. You mean now I ask my question?
Yes. It's called, hang on, wait. It's called a tease. You ask the question now to tease the audience, so stay tuned through the segment.
Oh. Well, I have a question about this supposedly, I don't know, rumor, hoax, maybe not, thing going around on Instagram about them being able to use your photographs and do whatever they want with your content.
Those bastards!
Bastards.
They've got some nerve.
So they do, but I would like to ask about that because I saw it on Feedly today.
Ooh, Feedly? Look at her using Feedly.
I'm using Feedly for occupational therapy things and
Yoga,
yoga a little bit, and haven't really accessed that. But
Mac News.
YML, Mac News, and
And remember, you can add anything else you'd like there, too.
Yeah, I'm finding it a very interesting thing.
Good. We'll talk about all that stuff and more later on in the show. I posted up a story on The Loop today. And I wanted to get your opinion about this because it kind of affects, well, you and me. How old should kids be when they get their own digital devices? I think for the most part it depends on the kid, but this PC Magazine polled 1,000 parents of school-age children. We asked parents when they thought it was appropriate to buy kids top tech devices. 27% said they should get a tablet at what year? This is between 3 to 5, 6 to 8, 9 to 11, 12 to 15, and 16 to 18.
This is their own, not using their parents' tablet.
Yes. Yeah.
I think 9 to 11 is a good age for a tablet.
Bang on. 27% said that a tablet, they can. That's the age. The next biggest group was 6 to 8, 26%. 23% said 12 to 15, and the rest were younger than that. Okay, 53% said at what age should kids get a mobile phone?
Oh, there's no, I don't have a multiple choice here. A mobile phone.
Same age groups, 3 to 5, 6 to 8, 9 to 11, 12 to 15, 16 to 18.
12 to 15.
12 to 15 did it again. Very good. 53% said 12 to 15 years old. Mm-hmm. You are a good mom.
I know.
41% said at what age should kids get a laptop?
And what was after 12 to 15?
16 to 18.
16 to 18.
Only 20%. 41% said between the ages of 12 and 15 they should get a laptop.
Ooh, okay.
I think it skews more towards the 15 years old, though, than 12-year-old, I would assume. And a smart speaker. 39%, the majority said at what age should kids get a smart speaker, a Google Home Assistant, an Echo, the Apple HomePod, that kind of stuff.
To play music?
To play music, to talk to ask questions of, hey Siri, hey Alexa, that kind of stuff.
What's after the 9 to 11?
9 to 11 is 12 to 15 and 16 to 18.
Well, it depends on the child, but I'm going to say the up to 18, the 15 to 18 or whatever.
16 to 18 or 12 to 15?
16 to 18.
Again, nailed it.
Yeah.
Very good. I think the key, though, is what you said. It depends on the kid.
Very much.
Some kids are mature earlier or later, or more responsible, less responsible. It also depends on the device. If we're talking about a tablet, if you're talking about a Kindle that costs $70,
they can't do much with that.
Exactly. You can give that to a 6-year-old.
Yeah.
And they can just read kids' books on it.
Yeah.
You're talking about an iPad? Even then, is an iPad mini?
Mm-hmm. Maybe they could have nice apps and educational.
10 or 11. Is it an iPad Pro? Well, now I'm looking at 16, 17. A lot of this comes down to the cost of the device, too. I'm not giving a 6-year-old a $1,000 iPad Pro.
Oh, God, no.
It's
No,
insane.
no. Oh, my God. No.
Well, you and I have been talking about our 13-year-old Rory really wants a laptop. Yay!
Oh, it's crazy. Yeah.
Except he doesn't want a laptop. He wants a gaming laptop. He wants a PC, Windows machine.
Well, he's actually been saying to me now, Mum, can I get an Apple laptop? He's asked me
Does he know that's not a gaming laptop?
I don't. He just did a switch a little while ago and said, Mum, can I get an Apple laptop? I could use it for school. And he likes it because of Minecraft. Now he's really into Minecraft again, and he can do all sorts of things and play with friends and use shaders and all this stuff. So,
but he can do that on the Xbox as well.
He can't do all of these adaptations to Minecraft on the Xbox. That's why when he was quite young, he wanted to access it on my laptop because he wanted shaders. He wanted some different a variety that you can do with Minecraft. So
Monty says kids using technology at younger ages in school now, so some of those numbers may need to be reevaluated. Well, I disagree. Sorry,
no,
Monty.
I don't mind them. In school, everyone else is using them, and they're very controlled.
But this was a story from 2 days ago, 2019.
Yeah,
so
it is a reevaluation.
And this is parents answering the question. So this is what parents think the kids should have. We have a problem at our age group, maybe 30, 40 and higher. We didn't have any of this stuff. And there's a real danger for a lot of people, and I fight against it myself, is, well, I did fine in school without this stuff. You don't need it either. My dad was awful for this. My dad would not let us use calculators to do our homework. We had to know how to do everything long form. And that's fine. I had no problem with that. Once I proved I can do the homework longhand, why not let me use the freaking computer? Calculator. He'd let me use a slide rule. And so the longest time I knew how to use a slide rule, but we were not allowed to use a calculator because he didn't use a calculator. I got along just fine.
It's in schools now. I mean, in some of the programs, and I work very closely with the lady that her master's is in, like that multi-dimensional classroom using technology. She is so incredible, and the way that some children learn better with the technology. It's a fact of life, and and our children should not be held back. They need to keep moving forward with this because it's their future. So I'm not opposed to it in the schools whatsoever.
I'm opposed to it if the schools don't know how to use the technology.
Well, they're learning.
With teachers who don't know how to develop the kids using the technology, with learning that doesn't use the technology, with those kinds of things. When Apple first started handing out iPads 10 years ago, the first school to use them was Maine, the state of Maine. And they gave every kid aged, I think from grade 3 to high school, an iPad. And it was a disaster because the teachers had not been trained on the iPads.
You don't just hand them out.
The technology, the IT department hadn't been trained on the iPads. And so naturally, because you're given internet-connected devices to 14-year-old boys, there was a lot of porn on these things. There was no blocks or controls over it. Once they fix those issues up, it's still going to happen. But for the most part, it's much better. The problem is, unless the state does it for every kid, if you let individual school districts or boards decide, the poor schools aren't going to get these devices, and the rich schools will. And that puts the poor kids at an automatic disadvantage. If you're talking about they need to use this technology. But then it also becomes an issue of when you're at home. If the kid does all of his work on an iPad at school, he's doing a project, and now he has homework, and if he can't bring that iPad home, or he doesn't have an iPad at home, the kid can't finish his homework. So we have to be careful about that, too.
Well, schools should be changing their whole philosophy on homework. Children should go home and maybe not do homework if they're that young that they're doing it on an iPad. But see, MacMan says Minecraft is infinitely better on a PC, and he's been playing it for 10 years now. Rory loves it on the PC.
I don't disagree with him on that, but does a 13-year-old boy need to play Minecraft on a PC when it's perfectly fine on an Xbox? You know
My comment on that is that Rory is he has a higher thinking about this stuff. He wants he wants it. When he was quite young, I told you, he downloaded it on it was a different Mac than this one, and he was able and managed to put in shade. It took him hours, and he was 9 years old when he was doing that. So Rory is ready to move on. Mm-hmm. He loves, this is his world, and I'm trying to accept it. And
the other downside is it's hard to play two players. He's in there right now with his friend Lucas playing Minecraft.
Well, he plays with his friends online now.
But I'm saying him and Lucas are sitting down together in front of the TV with the Xbox.
Playing Minecraft.
Mm-hmm. They couldn't do that with the laptop. So in that regard, as a social thing, it's better on the Xbox.
True.
Because I would prefer games to be social than solitary.
Yes, me too. But sometimes Rory just if he's in his room, he wants to be on the laptop and he wants to be doing it that way.
It's going to be interesting how we figure this out. Yeah, exactly. At what age, because he's getting to that age where he might need one for school, and which one do we get, and how do we control access to it?
This is a bright kid.
Yeah, it's going to be a really interesting issue.
And when did Logan get a laptop?
Is Susan around?
If so, I would like to ask Susan that, because Rory's ready.
But he's not getting a gaming laptop.
He could get an Apple laptop.
That's good. Later on the show, in our Starting Point Photography segment, we're going to talk about the iPhone Photography Awards. We weren't crazy about them. You'll find out why. Melissa has a question.
I do. About Instagram and Facebook.
And up next, though, we're going to talk to our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com about Siri and opting in and the Apple Card and all kinds of other fun, cool stuff. All that and much more coming up. Please stay tuned. This is Your Mac Life. Welcome back, folks. Thank you guys very much for joining me here on this Wednesday evening. I'm Shawn King. Joining our phone now, our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com. Jim, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Shawn. How are you?
I'm good. Sorry we didn't do a show last week. It had all kinds of internet issues and problems. We also, unfortunately, weren't able to post a show the week before when you talked about your editorial on The Loop about opting in to Siri. Give us a quick overview of why you feel that it's okay for you personally to opt into Siri.
I think it's okay for everybody to opt into Siri. I think that Apple is doing its best to make sure that Siri is better and make sure that Siri actually understands what it is that we're trying to ask it to do. And given those circumstances and the amount of complaints that people have about Siri, and I include myself in there,
Yep.
I figured that if I'm going to complain about Siri, then the least I can do is help to improve Siri. And if that means opting in so that maybe, perhaps, at some day, Apple will listen to a few seconds snippet to see what I'm asking Siri, and that helps improve it, then that's cool with me. And for people who don't want to opt in, of course you do not have to opt in.
Yep.
But I don't want to ever hear you complain about it.
That's right. Gruber had an interesting post about this Siri privacy and trust. I didn't know this. I don't use this feature. He says, compare and contrast with iOS's transcript feature for voicemail. At the bottom of every transcription, iOS asks whether the transcription was useful or not useful. Tap on either of these and you get a very explicit prompt. He talks about the prompt is cancel and submit and that kind of stuff. He's saying this is the kind of thing that Apple should do to solve the issue of opt-in or of permissions when it comes to this. That maybe every now and then Apple would ask you if you wanted to give permission for this particular Siri thing. I don't know that would work so well. He also brought up Marco Arment's comment where you would explicitly spell out the things that Siri was doing wrong. And again, I don't think that would work all that well for all situations. Apple's going to solve this problem. It's for me, the issue wasn't the fact that Apple had human beings listening in. It was that Apple wasn't more explicit with saying human beings were listening in. I think that's where they got themselves in a little bit of hot water. Was they weren't specific in saying. They were saying that, we may use this information, blah, 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 instead of specifically saying we will listen to some of your Siri interactions, recordings, just to make everything better. I think if Apple had said something along those lines, they wouldn't have gotten in nearly as much trouble.
Yeah. Again, it's not something that Apple has tried to hide or steer people away from. They've been very open about it since they've been doing it. And again, I don't have a problem with it. It's not like they're looking or listening at entire conversations or looking at snippets to see what's going right and what's going wrong. And that could include accents. It could include, different localizations of language. There's so many things I think that can trip Siri up. And, one of the funny things years ago that came up, I think you can still find it on YouTube, is when they had a Scottish man talking to him, to Siri.
Asking for a wee sandwich.
Yeah. And he said, "We have a wee problem here, Siri." Yeah. And Siri just could not understand a single word this man was saying. And it was just hilarious.
Oh, my God, it was funny.
So, I'm sure that it's much better now than what it was then. But my God, that's got to be one of the funniest videos I've ever heard. And, the guy, he's just talking. But Siri is just tripping over everything. I just cannot get it. But if you think about not only, a very thick Scottish accent, which was funny because it tripped him up. I mean, to be honest, I didn't even understand half of what the guy said either. So, but if you take some people from the southern states in the U.S., they have thick accents.
Yep.
You talk to some people think that I do, being Canadian, have an accent. So, different accents, different regions of the same country will have crazy accents.
Yep.
So, I mean, they have a lot to deal with. And, if I can help, I will.
Yeah. The other one, too, by the way, for those folks, I posted in the IRC chat room the Scottish one, but the sandwich. There's also another one, Scottish voice recognition elevator, which is also very funny. These two guys who can't get the elevator to understand what they're saying. But it's definitely a problem. I know my wife, Australian, she doesn't even have a thick Australian accent. There are times when it trips Siri up. Again, myself, just like Jim from Nova Scotia, there's certain words I'll say I don't even realize I'm saying them in a way that trips Siri up, and I get very frustrated. So that kind of stuff I'm okay with when Apple is trying to fix. What I find frustrating is the things you and I have talked about before. When I ask Siri to show me this is a perfect example. I'll say, Siri, what's my elevation in meters? And Siri will then always tell it to me in feet. Even though I've specifically asked for it in meters. She doesn't do it with temperature. When I say, Siri, what's the temperature right now? She gives it to me in Celsius. But elevation, for whatever reason, she won't give it to me in meters. And that's the kind of thing that I'd like to be able to flag to Apple and go, hey, Apple, Siri's made a mistake on this one. Fix this. It's not a problem of transcription or of language or of accents. It's for some reason Siri just decides not to do it the way I asked her to do it.
Yeah, I don't understand that. Maybe a setting somewhere in the measurements or something inside the iPhone that despite what you ask it, it's telling you what you have set instead. I don't know.
And yet Siri knows my location. When I ask for temperature, it gives me the temperature here in Gibson's, British Columbia, Canada. So if I ask for elevation where I am, she should also know that I'm in British Columbia, Canada. Especially if you specifically ask for it in meters. That's the confusing part to me. Is Monty said, I just tried that. What's my elevation in meters? It appears you're at 1,000 feet. Stop doing that, Siri.
Yeah, we've all had issues with Siri, and mine is, and I've said this before and wrote about this before. I think with some of the devices, it's a lot easier to use Siri because we know the limitations of Siri.
Yeah.
So on my HomePod, it's very easy. Turn the volume up and down, play this music, and, almost without fail, it just always works. On my watch, set a timer, do something else. Very easy. We know the limitations. We know what's going to happen. But on the iPhone, we don't know what the limitations for Siri are. We just assume we can do and ask whatever we want. No. And clearly we're not at that stage yet. I mean, Siri isn't an all-knowing AI machine, although we think she is.
Well, that's the other aspect of this, too, is someone said to me, well, our expectations of Siri are too high. Perhaps, but we've seen testing from Gene Munster, Loop Ventures, and other people where Google Home Assistant gets queries right about 95% of the time, whereas Siri gets it right about 87% of the time. So it's not we're expecting more from Siri. It's Siri's delivering less, and that's the disappointment a lot of us have for Siri.
Yeah, and maybe it's the way that we're asking Siri to do things. Maybe, and those are not issues with us.
Yeah,
that's an issue for Apple to fix.
That's
that
right.
It has to understand the different ways we will ask the same question.
Yep.
What's it like outside, or what's the weather outside?
Yep.
You can't not answer one of those two questions. Yep. Because we will tend, when we speak differently than we'll write. So we have to make sure that that Apple does, that Siri can answer all of those things.
And make no mistake, we want Siri to succeed. I think the magical view of Siri is wonderful, and I really want that to work on a much greater level and integrated in much more different things. Hey Siri, turn on my TV. That kind of stuff, which you really can't do now in general, but that's what the future is. We hope to have the whole Star Trek computer thing. So I'll be the first one to say I want Siri to do really, really well, and maybe I'm expecting too much from Siri too soon. I don't think so, but I try to keep that in mind when we talk about this kind of stuff.
Well, we're not asking Siri to make us an Earl Grey tea in a transporter,
That's right.
I mean, I'm asking when the next Bruins game is on.
Exactly.
And when it can't even answer that, then
we got a problem.
I get a bit upset.
Let's move on. The Apple Card is now out in a lot of people's hands. There's a lot of unfortunate tweets about I got my card, whole unboxing videos and all that other kind of silly stuff. Have you applied for and/or gotten an Apple Card?
No.
It's got to be hard to deliver mail under the bridge, isn't it?
Well, FedEx does come.
Do they? Oh, that's nice.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that.
I hung some numbers up.
That's right.
They know where to stop now.
Yeah, exactly. But did you see the video of the guys? The video of the guys seeing if the Apple Card was bulletproof was both both disturbing and really interesting. Disturbing because the amount of weaponry these two young men had was a little scary.
Oh boy!
But so they set this experiment up and they shot the iCard. Listen to me. The Apple Card with a .22 caliber gun, handgun.
Yeah.
The Apple Card stopped the bullet.
Awesome.
It stopped a bullet. Now the card was mangled and destroyed, but it didn't go through the titanium card. They said they got to find another card now, and they're gonna try it with a .38 and a PPK Walter, and they've got machine guns and all kinds of crazy ass shit. But it is kind of interesting what people are doing. It also sounds. Have you seen the video of how it sounds?
No.
It because it's metal. When you drop it on a table, it makes a metallic sound, which is a sound we're not used to. So I think a lot of this kind of stuff leads us to think that the Apple Card is more than what it actually is. And as I hate doing, I agree with Jason Cross at Macworld. The Apple Card is not magic. And do you get a sense that there's a lot of people looking at the Apple Card as if it was magic, or do you think that what we're reading about it is fairly level-headed?
No, I mean it's in a lot of ways it's just kind of ridiculous. But we knew that was going to come.
Yep.
I mean, I told you, a long time ago that it's going to be successful. Everybody's going to get one just to get one.
Yeah.
And if they don't get one just to get one, they'll get one to shoot bullets at it. I mean,
that's right.
When does the will it blend come up?
Yeah,
does it destroy the blender? I just, it's a credit card.
Yeah.
The magical part about the whole credit card is the process for going through and applying for it.
Yep.
That's the magical part of the whole thing.
Yep.
And having all of that information on your phone, that's magical. The rest of this stuff, will it stop a bullet? Who cares?
Yeah. I'm not going to get shot in the ass, okay?
Yeah. At least I hope not.
That's the only place I'm going to be able to protect myself with the titanium Apple Card. For me, I think the magical thing, and I've seen this a little bit in some of the reporting on it, is people are fascinated and love the idea of the Apple Card being able to show you in a visual way how much money you're spending on different categories of things. As your card, for folks who may not know, the app in your wallet on your phone, the graphic of the card will change colors depending on how much you're spending on various categories. And when you pay the card back down to zero, the card goes back to white. It's little things like that I are kind of magical. It's kind of cool. It's kind of an interesting way of looking at it.
Well, it's an Apple way of doing things.
Yes, I agree.
I mean, and I think that overall we kind of expected that too. We kind of expected Apple to do things in their own way, and they have.
No. The other aspect of this that we found interesting, we learned last week, the week before, Goldman Sachs is offering the card to what are only slightly, not rudely described as subprime lenders, people whose credit rating isn't as high as maybe it should be for a company like Goldman Sachs. But it sounds like, and this is supposition on our part, Apple has asked Goldman Sachs, I'm sure it's one of the reasons why Chase and others turned Apple down, to allow the card into the hands of people who may not be the prime customers for the general Goldman Sachs or general MasterCard. Apple's asking to lower the bar a little bit, not so that people with shitty credit will be able to get one, but people who have credit that's a little below average, and then Apple will understandably up the APR, the interest rate.
Of course.
But it allows people who may not normally be able to get a credit card to get one, and hopefully those people will be able to use it responsibly. Unfortunately, we know that's not necessarily the case. One of the dangers of credit cards is it's free money. That's why I got in trouble with my very first credit card, a Sears card, when I was 19 years old. It didn't feel like real money to me. And so I racked up thousands of dollars in credit card debt because I didn't think about paying this stuff off at any point, not just the end of the month, but at any point. I didn't have a job. a guy in the mall said, "You want a credit card?" I went, "Yeah, sure. What the hell, right?" And I filled the form out correctly. I said, "Employment? No." I was in high school, man. I didn't have a freaking job. And like 3 weeks later, this credit card shows up. Like, well, you guys are idiots. Off I go to Sears.
Yeah.
So there is a danger of that, of putting credit cards in the hands of people who may not be ready for a credit card, because a credit card is a serious responsibility. Do you think there's any danger or concerns of that this may be generating a whole lot of credit card debt where it really shouldn't?
Well, from what I can understand, from people that I've talked to that do have one, those with subprime credit aren't really getting big limits.
Correct.
Those with really good credit are getting great limits, for them.
Yes. I've seen people with limits as low as $750.
Right. And I've talked to people with limits of 20.
Yeah.
Thousand.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's in that respect, I think it's the same as what you would get from, a normal credit person. Now, they may not give you anything where this one's going to give you $750. And
yes.
There's probably people with $500 limit.
Yep.
But for the people that have, scoring very high in the credit ratings, they're going to get a lot more.
Yeah.
So then that's typical. That's normal.
Apple announced when the card went into wide release late last week that they had added a new partner for the 3% daily cashback, and it was disturbingly, at least to me, Uber and Uber Eats. Do you think this was a little bit of a tone-deaf move on Apple's part?
Well, I mean, I don't use Uber myself, but a lot of people do. And if you can get your 3% back on Uber, for a lot of people, they use it every day.
Yeah.
So that could add up for them. So
the problem I have is that Uber, as a company, as a culture, as a entity, is not the kind of partner I would have expected Apple to hop in bed with, so to speak. Certainly as the first non-Apple partner with this kind of stuff. I would have thought that maybe there'd be other companies that had maybe more of a moral grounding, that more closely associated with what Apple has morally. It just felt that the choice to have Uber as your first partner was made me feel a little skeevy.
Are you talking Uber or Twitter?
Well, yeah, Twitter is not as well. No, you're right. Twitter's as bad. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But just an odd choice, in my opinion, to have Uber be your first client. Your first, and the other thing is, I don't know how any of this stuff works. I don't know who pays the cash back. Does Uber give Apple 3% and they kick it back onto you, or does 3% come out of Apple's cut that they're supposed to give to Uber, or I don't know how any of that stuff works.
Yeah.
But you'd think other companies would be jumping at the chance to partner with Apple. We all know surveys have shown us many, many times that Apple customers are generally considered to be more valuable, more loyal, and just better customers from a financial point of view than non-Apple customers. So you'd think a lot of companies would want to get involved with Apple on this. And that being the case, why did Apple announce Uber first?
Well, maybe it's because of the amount of people that use it. Maybe they wanted to announce a discount that a lot of people could take advantage of.
Yep.
And I think Uber is one of those companies, whether you like them or not, a lot of people use Uber.
Yep. But do you think this is also a Silicon Valley bias? A
lot of
people in Silicon Valley use Uber. A lot of people in LA and New York use Uber, but ain't no one in Toledo using Uber. There's no one in Vancouver. It's not available using Uber. Neither is the Apple Card. But you see what I mean? There seems to be a very city-centric bias in this particular choice.
Well, I don't know if it's city-centric. I mean, Uber is all over the U.S. Yep. So, and that's where the card is right now too, all over the U.S. So I don't know.
Are you pushing your shopping cart around? All I can hear is squeaking behind you.
Oh no, that's the dog on a ball.
Oh, on a squeaky ball. Okay, cool.
Bruin.
No, it's okay. You named your dog Bruin?
Well, it wasn't me that named it Bruin, but
surprised you didn't name him Marchand.
Hey, Bruin. It's a little black and gold dog.
Oh, that's very cute.
Yeah.
Macworld said Apple is embracing consumer credit, not disrupting it. It's one of the things that a lot of folks assumed or guessed at or wrote about, that this was what Apple was doing. It was going to disrupt the entire credit card industry. Do you think they are or they aren't?
I think that's maybe what they intend to do. I think that, yeah. There's a lot of money. I think a lot of brand, a lot of everything to be made here. Let's not forget, it's still credit. You're still paying.
Yep.
Apple is still, making money, and you can't be so high on services if you don't have lots of things coming.
Yep.
And, the Apple Card is just one of them. So I think that they would love to disrupt that.
I think that anyone who thinks that this is what the Apple Card will look like in 18 months, 2 years, isn't paying attention. Yeah. Whatever Apple is offering now, they will expand upon and increase in the next 2 years. It'll be the same card. It'll be titanium. It'll look cool. It'll be on your wallet in your iPhone, but they're going to expand it. You're going to be able to export your data. There's going to be more rewards and more offers and maybe miles or other kinds of things. I don't know if Apple, I think their intention may be to disrupt the credit card industry, but I think it's such a monolithic industry. Visa and MasterCard have 92% of the market. For Apple to fight that from the inside, because they have to be on the inside of the credit card industry in order to be able to be part of it, unlike the iPhone. From the inside, it's going to be very, very hard. MasterCard and Visa are still going to have the vast majority of credit card customers. Apple will get their fair share, and this will be successful. It'll be a good idea for some and a bad idea for others. I think overall, it's just another credit card. It might be cooler showing you the data, but from a credit card point of view, I think it's, as I've said from the very beginning, it's middle of the road. It's not a card that I would want, even if I had access to it.
Yeah, but let's not forget that you don't need 90% of the market in order to make money.
Exactly, that's right.
You can make money with 5% of the market.
Yep.
So, especially this kind of market.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding.
So, there's a lot of money that can be made here.
Let's move on. There were some stories came out last week about services. Apple TV Plus is now rumored to cost $10 a month. Apple Arcade is now rumored to cost $5 a month. What do you think of those two price points?
Good price points.
Yeah, although I think Arcade more so than Apple TV Plus, if only because Apple doesn't really have the offerings, because that's around Netflix pricing, and Netflix has got thousands of shows. 90% of them are crap, yes, but they've got thousands of shows. Apple's got 5, and you can only watch those shows so many times. They got 5 unproven shows as well. When Netflix started out, they had a huge catalog of proven movies and TV shows that they licensed from others. Apple apparently is not doing that. Apple seems to be relying on their own content. And as we know, anyone who's watched TV over the past 25 years, that content, that original content, can be very hit and miss, quite often more miss than hit. Can Apple survive on $10 a month and only 5 shows?
Well, I think the question is how long can they survive on that? Because they have, 15 in the pipeline that are being worked on. And that was before. How many more do they have now? Are they working on deals to bring over some content from others? And then if you add in the stations that they have, well, then you throw in HBO and Showtime and some of those with original content also, and some previous content. You know, it might make some more sense. Although those other channels do cost, but I think it depends on how quickly Apple can bring out all of its programming. And I mean, if a series is popular, then they have to look at season 2, so
yeah, that's right.
It's not a matter of, I mean, sure, they probably will drop some shows, but then they have to pick up season 2 of a show and start production on that and get that going. And how long does it take to film a show?
I actually like the idea of limited run TV series, the ones that are going to end after an X period of time, because then you don't get disappointed when a show gets canceled in the middle of a story arc or at the end of a cliffhanger or things like that. Shows like Game of Thrones, we knew it was going to end, so it was less painful when it did end. We're watching a series. I watched a series called Luther, a British crime procedural.
Yeah, I watched that one.
Oh man, it's so good. If you haven't had a chance, folks, watch Luther. Idris Elba, many years ago. I think it's about a 10-year-old show now. There's limited shows. The Brits call a series, whereas we in North America generally think of a series as 13 to 20 shows. The Brits only have 4. I think there's only a total of 16 shows, and they're not doing any. Go ahead.
At the end, when he at the end of the series, when he walks out, where are you at in the series?
I'm finished. We already watched the whole thing. We binged the whole thing.
Oh shit! I was hoping to. I didn't think you were at the end.
You were gonna ruin it for me. You dick.
No, I wasn't. I was just gonna say that so that you would say, "Ah, no, don't tell me. I'm one show away from the end."
Exactly. Does he die?
And you didn't say it, so that's why I had to ask.
Yep,
well,
right.
that pissed me off.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. But no, I like that idea of these shows that we know from the beginning that they're a limited run show. What was the one with the woman just recently? Not striptease, Bug something. Phoebe. Anyway, another British show, but it was only 2 series long. I think it was 12 episodes, and you knew that going in, and so you could relax and watch it. So maybe Apple's going to go that route. But do you think Apple needs to pad out its lineup by licensing shows that have already been on TV, a la Friends or House or things like that?
Oh no, I mean you can get those anywhere.
Sure, yeah.
So I don't know. I just want good programming, and if a show isn't good, then get rid of it.
Yeah.
And I've never watched Game of Thrones. I never saw a show. So apparently it was a great show. It's just not for me. So I'm not saying that if a show isn't for me, cancel it. I'm saying if a show isn't good, then get rid of it. But, if a show is good, then, hey, keep it around and work it.
Yeah.
That's what we want.
Dave D in the IRC chat room says, Shawn, ask Jim if he expects a new Apple TV this September. You think Apple will announce a new TV box alongside the official announcement, official launch of Apple TV Plus?
I don't know that they need a new Apple TV right now because they have, the new iOS, which clearly works with the existing boxes. So that's not an issue. They have 4K, so that's not an issue.
Yep.
I'm not sure what it is that they could announce substantially for a new Apple TV to make it worthwhile. So could they announce one, with bigger this or better that? Sure, they could announce a redesigned model and, whatever. They could certainly do that. But I would be looking for, considering you're talking about Apple TV Plus here,
Yeah.
I would be looking for something to take better advantage of that, and I think that's all done in software.
Speaking of that, Jason Snell wrote on Macworld.com why Apple doesn't need to release a new Apple Watch this fall. He says there's enough going on with watchOS and potential new materials to keep Apple's champion wearable on top. Do you agree with that statement? You think?
Sure.
Yeah, I don't. Part of it is a lack of imagination on my part, and I'll completely admit to that. I don't know what else Apple could do hardware-wise with the Apple Watch, unless they've got some more health features. People have been talking about a glucose monitor and a blood pressure monitor and that kind of stuff, which I don't know Apple's that far along with, or whether that's enough of a draw to release a new product for people. But the rumors of a titanium shell and or a ceramic shell, they could release that as just an update to the Apple Watch, release watchOS 5, and they're going to sell a buttload of Apple Watches.
Of course.
I don't think they need a brand new Apple Watch, or a new design, or a new shape, or add a camera to it, or any other foolishness that people are talking about.
Well, and again, what is it that Apple can do to improve the hardware of this watch?
Yeah.
I mean, if there's something substantial that they can do, then they should release a new watch. But if not, I mean, it's not a requirement to release a new product every year. They don't have to do it. And, we've seen that with some staggered iPad releases.
Yeah.
And, we've seen it with Mac. And, they don't have to do it. Because they release something. I remember they used to release the Macs and just give it a little speed bump.
Yep.
But it used to be at Macworld Expo during the keynote, and people were saying, well, that was lame.
Yeah.
Well, that's why they stopped doing that.
That's right. Exactly.
So I want them to release something when it's going to make a substantial difference in one way or another, whether that's, now we're all SSD drives, or now we have Wi-Fi in them, and, now we have Bluetooth. Well, that's a substantial change that changes the way that you do things. So
I think the big thing for Apple is what can they add to it. And like you said, I think any additions, at least this year, can be done very easily in software with maybe an updated case material. But I don't think Apple needs to have a whole press event where they show off the new Apple Watch, because right now, hardware-wise, it's pretty damn good. And from what I understand with the watchOS, the software for it is pretty damn good as well. So yeah, I don't think Apple's going to release a new Apple Watch hardware-wise, except for possible titanium and or ceramic. And even the ceramic one kind of makes me feel not so much good about the company, because that's going to be very expensive. That's going to push the price of the Apple Watch up into the thousands of dollars. It'll end up being much, much more expensive. Whereas an Apple titanium watch will be lighter and probably cost $700-800.
But I mean, first of all, we're guessing.
Yes.
At what the price will be, and there will still be other versions available for those that want those versions. So it's not like the only watch available is going to be thousands of dollars. If somebody wants a ceramic watch because they're allergic to another type of metal, then this would be a perfect watch for them.
Yeah.
Here's the ceramic watch. They don't care how much they're going to pay for it. This is what I need.
Dave D in the IRC chat room says, suppose Apple didn't release an iPhone in September. All hell would break loose. Do you agree with that?
Well, probably would, yeah. But
the iPhone, they have to release a new version in September, don't they?
Yeah.
And it's got to be significant upgrade hardware-wise.
The iPhone is different than the other products, because so much of their income right now is coming from the iPhone. So they need to give that surge of, and let's be honest, the surge lasts for a few months of iPhone sales. So that is a significant surge in income for Apple. So that's good. It's what they used to do with the Mac.
Yeah.
They used to release the Mac, and they did the same thing with the iPod. When the iPod came out, they had new iPod every Well, sometimes twice a year, they would have new iPod. They would have a new model or a new design, or they would have something new with the iPod. Capacity would be bigger. The way that you sync it would be different. And, you know, so many different things with the iPod. But that was the thing at the time that they needed to do. And the iPhone is that animal right now. And that's what they need to do. But yeah, if they didn't release a new iPhone, all of the holy shit would break loose all over.
Yeah, I think their stock would tank, and every pundit in the world would be all over them about that. Apple owns the Apple Watch market. They don't have to upgrade significantly the iPhone. They're still seriously competitive in the handset, in the phone market, so they have to upgrade in that respect. So, and same with the iPad. Yeah. The iPad doesn't need any sort of significant change to it. I don't know if it's going to get new cameras that the iPhone is supposedly going to get, but Apple doesn't need to upgrade the iPad because, again, they own that market for the most part.
Yep.
Let's move on. The Washington Post had a story that Apple aims to protect kids' privacy. App makers say it could devastate their businesses. This is an interesting story because Apple is using a fairly broad brush to clamp down on a serious issue, apps that take advantage of the fact that kids are using them by location tracking and ads that is being served up. But Apple's catching some, in theory, reputable companies in the same net. Does Apple have to walk a fine line here, if only because of antitrust issues?
I don't think so. I mean, I think that what Apple is catching some of these people doing as adults, we would not like those companies doing to us.
Yeah.
You know, invisible lines of code and, you know, all this kind of, no, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the stuff that we expect Apple to clamp down on. And now it's being done to kids. It's even worse. Yeah. Because kids don't have the same view of privacy that we do. Sure. But, you know, Apple's catching a lot of people in this net, and good for them.
But,
you know, that's got nothing to do with antitrust in my mind. That's got something to do with the companies being sneaky.
Well, I say antitrust, you know, only from the point of view that if Apple is seen as clamping down on companies and their apps.
I get it.
And their apps in favor of Apple's apps, that's something that could get them in trouble.
No, but, I get it.
But the Washington Post story talks about an app called Tanki, an iPhone app intended to be a safe alternative to YouTube, created with the help of privacy experts and lawyers. He says the new rules could limit Tanki's ability to show ads and force the developer to abandon his model to make the app free. And that's the concern, is that apps that are trying to work within Apple's rules, because Apple's throwing in a big old wide net, they're getting caught up in this, and they may have to change their business model or go out of business entirely.
Yeah, well, there's always this stuff that happens where you know, you get people that are doing the right things, and they get caught up in it. But what is the one thing that we expect from Apple these days? Privacy and security.
Yeah.
And, you know, they can't go on an app-by-app basis and say, oh, well, these guys are good.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I mean, are the ads tracking the kids in some way? Well, yeah, they are. Okay, well, then that's out then.
Yeah.
Well, is that a whole business model that's now gone from the App Store? Well, I mean, you know, yeah, maybe then you're really limiting what developers can do. Does that hurt your ecosystem? Sure. Developers start walking away. But, I mean, if you look at what Apple is actually trying to do and the reasons they're trying to do it, there are solid reasons.
Agreed.
People are getting caught up, but there are solid reasons for them taking action.
And part of this is that, I don't know if Apple didn't see this coming, but when Apple first started allowing these kinds of apps in the store, they didn't either expect or realize or whatever that this would be used nefariously by people collecting data that they shouldn't be. So Apple is now clamping down on this and coming down very hard on developers who are doing these sorts of things. It would be nice if there was as you said, a one-on-one review process for apps like Tanky to be able to go to Apple and go, look, here's what we're doing. We're not doing the things you're accusing those other guys of, and then proving it. It'll take a lot more work on Apple's part. It'll take a lot more work on Tanky's part. But at least those kinds of good apps can stay in the App Store while Apple can still block the bad apps.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Folks, I've been talking to Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com. He's here each and every week. He has his own podcast called The Dalrymple Report. It's up on the iTunes store. Do a search for Dalrymple Report. You listen to him and Dave Mark. We want to send a shout-out out to our good friend Dave Mark. He had a tragic death in the family last week, and hopefully he's getting through that. And we're thinking about you, Dave, and our condolences to you and your family. Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Shawn.
Talk to you next week, buddy. See ya.
Bye.
Folks, when we come back, we're going to talk. Melissa has a question. She has a question about Instagram and photos and all kinds of other stuff like that. Stay tuned. This is Your Mac Life. Welcome back, folks. Thank you guys very much for joining us here this Wednesday evening. And joining us now, back again, is my lovely wife, Melissa.
Hello.
She has a question. Melissa, what is your question?
Oh, I'm sort of in the midst of my summer, and so I just am doing a little bit of looking around for questions. But I thought it would bring up some interesting discussion. I'm asking about the Instagram, Facebook sort of hoax, or if it is real about them being able to use your photographs, if they so choose, whether even if you haven't even got them on a public page or anything like that anymore. Is this true?
What's happened is that a Facebook Instagram hoax from 2012. Snopes debunked this thing back in 2012.
Oh.
And said that Facebook debunked this thing back in 2012 and said that lost my train of thought there. And said that it's not true. What's happened is somebody's reposted this to Facebook, Instagram. Unfortunately, it got amplified by a bunch of celebrities who all thought that this was true. What the story says is that tomorrow, at some indefinite tomorrow, Facebook and Instagram will now be able to use your photos in any way they so choose. It says, don't forget, tomorrow starts the new Instagram rule where they can use your photos. Don't forget, deadline today. It can be used in court cases and litigation against you, which makes no sense. Everything you've ever posted becomes public from today, even messages that have been deleted or the photos not allowed. It costs nothing for a simple cut and paste, better safe than sorry. Again, that makes no sense. Channel 13 News talked about the change in Instagram's privacy policy. And then it goes on to supposedly post a statement. With this statement, I give notice to Instagram. It is strictly forbidden to disclose, copy, distribute, or take any other action against me based on this profile or its contents, blah, 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 blah. Okay, first of all, it's hoax. It's not true. It's not happening. Secondly, those kinds of statements are utterly useless. Because when you signed up to Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and iCloud and Apple ID, you signed the terms of service, the TOS. And I guarantee you, in the TOS of Instagram, when you sign that TOS, you can't make changes to it without the permission or without the agreement of the person who wrote the contract. It's contract law. You can't arbitrarily make a change in a contract without the other person. Once you sign the contract, once you've agreed to the contract, that contract is now set in stone. If you want to make changes to the contract, you must get the permission of the other party. That's every contract. So just putting up a notice on Facebook or on Instagram saying, no, don't do this, that means shit. It has no enforcement value whatsoever.
What's the point of such a hoax then?
It's just to get people to do dumb shit. Okay? The problem is...
I can do that quite well on my own.
Right. The problem is, and a lot of people will not realize this, Instagram already has permission to use your photos. You already gave it to them. When you signed up for Instagram, when you use Instagram, your terms of service with Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, et cetera, say you grant the social network a non-exclusive, transferable, sub-licensable, royalty-free, worldwide license to use any IP content that you post on or in connection with Facebook or their IP licenses. It already says that in the terms of service. You've already given them permission to use all your photos. They're not going to, because that would be stupid. But part of it is they need that permission in order to be able to move your photos from Instagram to Facebook. To be able to move that photo from Instagram servers to my iPhone. To be able to move the photos around. They need that license. It's a legal thing. They have to be able to do that. They could certainly, without a doubt, misuse that permission that you've given them. They generally don't. So, there's a couple things that go with this. Is when you read statements like this, and they sound like, that should immediately be your first red flag of, what the hell's going on? If it's on Instagram and or Facebook, another red flag. Because the vast majority of bullshit most of our friends and family who aren't techie get is from Instagram or Facebook. You know, instantly that should set your little bullshit meter tinging a little bit. Thirdly, the post on Instagram is poorly done, terrible grammar, references things that are not checkable. Channel 13 News, oh my God. Channel 13 News said it. It must. Wait, who the hell is Channel 13 News? Where is Channel 13 News?
Mm-hmm.
The post mentions particular statutes. The Rome Statute. Well, do a Google search for Rome Statute and see what that entails. No such thing. It's bullshit. Do a little work before you automatically post this stuff. And thank God I haven't seen this on Facebook, because what that means is I'm following smart people.
I've never seen. I haven't seen it. I was just looking at stuff today and happened to see it.
U.S. Energy Secretary Rick Perry got suckered in. Rob Lowe, Julie Roberts, Judd Apatow, Pink, Usher. They're all dumber than we are. Post that stuff on
MacMan, I have multiple times.
Yeah, which means you're following dumb people. So keep an eye out for this kind of scam. Let's assume that our audience at Your Mac Life is far too clever to fall for this kind of stuff. But your friends and family may not be. And either preemptively post on your Facebook page, hey, if you see this, it's not true. Or when you do see it, point them to Snopes or Apple Insider.
Or it's a hoax, people.
Well, don't just say it's a hoax. Back it up.
Well, yeah.
Right?
I'm probably not going to do that. But
post it. What's easy to do, just put you found the Apple Insider link, post that.
Mm-hmm.
Apple Insider says you cannot stop Instagram or Facebook from using your photos with a post. And that's true, because you've already given them permission to use your photos. So there's that. If it looks hinky, it probably is. Just do a Google search for it.
It reminds me of that school one recently where, there was that weird face, and it was encouraging kids to do awful things or something, or hurt themselves, and it was all a hoax. But it went through the whole school district. It was just like wildfire.
The grown-ups,
the principals, the board office, everyone.
The principals of our school district sent this out warning parents when all they had to do was do a simple Google search, and the first story that came up was, this is a hoax.
Yes.
It doesn't take much effort to.
But it just shows you how these things can gain momentum.
Well, what's the old line that a lie travels around the world faster than before the truth can put its shoes on?
Well, I always remember in school, a teacher took us out into the great big back field and had someone stand and give a message and spread us all around and started a message, and how vastly different it got when it reached the other end. And it still sticks with me.
Yeah, it's a game called telephone that you give the one person and then.
And it's supposed to go around and it comes back destroyed. And it's almost different. Yeah, completely different.
So look for these kinds of things when you see them. If they sound odd, a little weird, check them. One of the things that I do, probably too much, our friend George Canals got caught up in this a little while ago. I have on my Chrome browser RevI reverse image search. Mm-hmm. And what that is it's a Chrome extension. Let me just see. I can't find it. How to open it up? Anyway, RevI, REVEYE. What RevI does is you can right-click on an image, and I'll show this to the audience just so that they can see. Oops, sorry. Oh, come on. So here's a post I posted on Facebook. I'm going to cover up Melissa's beautiful face again. So you can see that here's a picture of Melissa, and I can right-click, and up pops what's called a contextual menu, and down here it says reverse image search. So I click on that, and it goes to the web. Oops. Something didn't work. Oh, thanks. That's helpful. Thanks very much. That's great. But what it does is it looks through image databases on Google and other places to see if they can find a match for that one photo. And when it does, it shows it to you. All I can do is scroll through a few of them, and if it's a fake one of the first pages will say this is fake, or Snopes, or Hoax Eye Hoax Eye is one of my favorite Twitter accounts that has a lot of these photos that are photoshopped or manipulated, or facts that are wrong. So that's a real simple thing to do. Just right click on the image and you'll get a bunch of matches. So you have to be a little more vigilant. You have to work a little bit harder on this kind of stuff in order to protect yourself and your friends and family. It doesn't take that much effort. Melissa found this story easily on Apple Insider. If you see this on Instagram, just send a link to the person saying, hey, this is from Snopes. 2012, this has been going around at least on Snopes.com. So give that a look.
Well, I think it's I think it needs to be talked about often.
In our starting point photography segment on tonight's show, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, but the audio of the show screwed up, so we couldn't go through with the whole thing. The IPPA Awards for 2019 were given out. iPhone Photography Awards. The website is, let me get this, ippawards.com. Check it out if you would like to follow along with us. I'm going to post this URL in the IRC chat room so folks can follow along with us. So the IPPA has been around since 2007. They've got some really interesting photos. The fascinating thing about this, to me, is not only are these all iPhone photos, but they're all not iPhone XR or XS photos. Some of these photos are iPhone 6S.
Oh.
Some of these, so
that's kind of interesting.
It shows that you can take good photos no matter what device. Something I've said a million times. What kind of camera you use isn't as important as your knowledge of photography, of your ability to see a scene, to capture a scene, to see the light and that kind of stuff. So let's look at some of these photos and we'll critique them. Again, I'm sorry to have to cover up Melissa's face while I do this. Oops, that's this one. So here are the IPP Awards for 2019, and this one was the grand prize winner, Gabriella Sigliano. And when you first look at this photo, what did you think about it 2 weeks ago?
It struck me. I find it to be a very dynamic, beautiful photograph. I mean, I know that I like the difference in the color and her and her sister compared to the paleness of the background.
I like that. I wish there was more of a focus on the two kids. I find that they get lost in the whiteness of the sand. The sand is so blown out on the right hand and left hand side of that. It's like it's flat, and the clouds in the background are a little too flat for me. I would much rather have this photo, had the photographer been all the way up, right up to their faces. You can kind of see just. The photographer has got their feet in. It's a full body shot, but I would much rather have seen the beautiful faces of these kids in full frame. Now, fill the frame with these kids' faces. It's a personal choice. It's a good photo. I like the photo in general.
I do too.
I don't think it's a grand prize winner though. I would not have given this one the grand prize. So this is the photographer of the year, Diego Log, shot on an iPhone SE. He shot this on. I don't like this photo at all. How about
I wish
you?
it was in color.
Yeah.
I mean, last time I said, I liked the leading line down to the man standing there. Just a bit bland. The color would definitely be more interesting.
Now, maybe because the sky was so uniform, he turns to black and white. But because I know what this scene, air quotes, what this scene should be, it should be full of color and blue and green of the water and maybe red stripes and white and that kind of stuff. The fact this is in black and white distracts from the story of the image for me.
The man gets a bit lost in the background of the ocean.
I think it's really cool that he's wearing the same style of shirt that the Cabanas are in. But yeah, this in black and white doesn't do a thing for me.
It's odd that it's in black and white.
Again, this is another shot that we saw last time around, so I can't zoom in on it a little bit more. Second place photographer of the year. I like the idea of the shot, but we said this 2 weeks ago. I wish there was one person in the shot.
It tells a story, but it doesn't do anything for me. Nothing.
It tells a story, but for me, it creates no emotion other than wet.
It's like, ew.
I don't want to be there.
No movie tonight.
Yeah, no movie tonight. Whereas if there's one person there, the story is, why? Why are you still sitting there? that gets me interested in the story. This, to me, isn't an interesting story. It may be a lovely shot, but it's not an interesting story. This one was shot on a iPhone 7 Plus. Photographer of the Year, Peng Hao. This is just an odd picture. This is at Burning Man in the United States, where they have all kinds of weird art installations going on. I don't know how he got this shot from this angle. And this obviously can't be a drone shot, but it's an iPhone shot. But it's an interesting structure. I don't know if I like the photo, though. How about you?
I found it captivated me because I was like, what the heck? And after a while, I was like, nah, and I just went by it. I wasn't that interested in it.
Yeah,
Didn't
you
do
start
much
off,
for me. I was
you
like,
start off
oh.
thinking, huh? And then you
And
look
I
at it
was
more and you go,
no, I don't care.
I don't
I didn't care anymore.
This was shot on an iPhone 10. Next image, abstract. Now, I'm going to be the first one to admit my own personal biases on this. I don't get abstract. I'm not an abstract thinker. I can't say whether this is a good or bad photo from an abstract point of view. I like the colors. The colors are pretty. I like the light. The light is pretty. But I don't know if it's a good photo.
Yeah.
What do you think?
It doesn't interest me too much.
Shot on an iPhone 7 Plus.
7 Plus, okay. No.
First place, animals, Diego Laga.
I just think it's just kind of depressing. No, I don't know. Why would you put that one in black and white?
How do you shoot a peacock in black and white? That makes no
Sad.
sense whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's a bizarre choice.
I mean, it's great that he's got I like his composition of
Yeah.
it
Oh,
very
yeah.
much.
Absolutely. But why black and white?
I don't know. I guess he's thinking it's being creative.
This is one of the most beautiful, colorful birds on the frickin' planet. And you decide, and you get it in this great pose.
I mean, he doesn't have it. Yeah. Yeah.
And you shoot
Maybe
black
it's a
and white.
female peacock. They're not so colorful.
I don't know. It looks. I'm looking at the wings back here, but still, it makes no sense. First place, architecture. What do you think of this one?
It's hard to. That's a photograph?
It's a photograph.
Goodness.
Shot on an iPhone 10.
No, I'm sorry. I don't really like it very much.
I like the shapes of the photo. I like the
The
color.
shadows and the.
I like the individual elements of the photo. The bird in flight, the shadows, the color, the shape of the windows. But when you put it all together,
Nah.
eh.
Doesn't do much for
As
me.
I go through the list of photos, I'm like, are we wrong? These are all apparently award-winning photos.
I suppose they were judged by award-winning photographers.
First place, children. Shot on an iPhone 10.
No, I hate it.
So do I! If you're going to shoot the shadow, shoot the shadow. If you're going to shoot the kid, shoot the kid.
Yeah.
If you're going to shoot the shadow and the kid, shoot both of them. He's got half of the kid.
I just don't. It doesn't tell me. I just don't like it at all.
Monty says, not enough context. He's
It's
absolutely right.
boring.
First place, floral. Shot on an iPhone XS Max.
Sorry, it does nothing for me at all. Maybe I'm not seeing it very. I don't have my glasses on, so I'm not seeing all the detail in it. But I don't know what I'm supposed to be looking at. Let's say that.
That's a good point. Your eyes are definitely
You're
traveling
going all over the place.
all over the place on this one. You got a boring sky. The sky is flat blue. The idea of landscape shots is that you're supposed to have something in the foreground to give context and depth and scale to it. I think from this angle, he's too low, making the foreground flowers look bigger than the background mountains, and that's kind of confusing.
Yeah, I don't really see where's the feature? Like if there was a great big beautiful cactus flower or something in the front or something.
It also feels very washed out too.
It does. It does look washed
Like,
out.
I don't know. One of the problems, I don't know what editing the photographer did. Is this the way it actually looked, or did he edit it to look like this?
I hope not.
MacMan, is the cactus the focus? The mountains? Exactly.
I didn't know where I was supposed to be going with it.
First place, landscape. Shot on an iPhone SE.
No, I'm sorry. It's dreadful.
It is.
I've taken better landscapes
You
than
have.
that. Sorry,
Stevie
no.
Wonder is taking better landscape shots than this.
Where is? No, I don't. Again, I don't know where I'm supposed to be looking. It's boring. It's got no context. Again, as Monty, I think, has.
Yep.
Don't like it. Yuck.
MacMan, is that even in focus?
Big
It's
deal.
just- I don't get some of these shots. First place, lifestyle.
What lifestyle?
What lifestyle? What's he doing? Is he supposed to be fishing in a suit? How is that a life? What lifestyle are you showing
It's
us?
not telling me anything. It doesn't tell me. It just makes my eyes come together and make those wrinkles inside of my hair get even deeper.
How is this a lifestyle shot? What's he looks like he's holding a fishing rod, but it's not. He's in a suit. He's by a lake or a river. I don't understand. Monty, lifestyle or what?
Sorry, no.
First place, nature.
Is that a tunnel?
Well,
What is that?
they're walking up a set of stairs. That doesn't look natural to me.
Oh, okay.
You got a big white blob in the center. Monty, clearly I'm doing photography all wrong.
It's clearly I'm all doing photography all wrong. By these awards. Now, maybe these awards are clearly you're doing something wrong.
First place, news events. Now, this one I kind of like, if only because I want to like some of this stuff. But I've seen so much better pictures of Chinese fire dragons than this one. Shot on an iPhone 6S. First place, other. Okay, I'll be the first one to say it. This one is just stupid.
What, blobs on a wall, clouds on a wall? That is an awful. That's like a mistake.
This
I clicked my camera
has
by
gotta be-
mistake.
Oh, well, Susan, who is Petapixel and why should I consider them any sort of authoritative source on photography? No, Susan, Petapixel is just the website that these pictures are on. What you should be looking at is the IPPawards.com site, and I'll find that one for you. Hang on a second. The Petapixel is just the website that's showing these things off. But otherwise, yes, Petapixel is a very good website when it comes to photography news. But yeah, I'm going to stop it right there. Because if this won an award, I'm sorry, IPP Awards, you have no clue what you're talking about.
No, that's someone's relative that got that award.
That is objectively a bad photo.
It's terrible. It's embarrassing.
It's pointless. There's the only nice thing to say about it is I like the blue. That's it. There's nothing else about this photo that has.
It's all
any
broken up
interest.
and terrible.
I'm just going to close this page because we don't need to see this anymore.
We're done. We don't need to.
We're done. That was disappointing. I love looking at award-winning photography,
Yes.
Nat Geo, and all those kind of guys. I love that stuff. This was 95% crap.
Mm-hmm. So I'm sorry, who judges them?
It's the IPP Awards. I have no idea who the judges are. But I also wanted to point out to folks that if you do enter your photos into a photo contest, very much like the Instagram terms of service that I read out to you, be very, very careful. There are all kinds of photography contests that when you read the terms of service, when you enter the contest and give them your photo, they take the rights. Some of them actually take your copyright rights. Most of them will say what Facebook and Instagram say, you've now given us a royalty-free, transferable, licensable. And licensable means they can sell to other people and not give you the money.
Wow.
So a lot of photo contests say, you've now given us a transferable license to your photo, royalty-free, in perpetuity. Don't join those contests. Also, don't join any contest that says, you can enter the contest for a $10 fee. Don't do that.
Yeah, see, I think my son almost got caught up in something like this. No. And Susan's saying, when she goes to the contact page, there's no information about who they are.
Well, the IPP Awards have been around for a long time, since 2007. I mean, they've been giving these awards out for quite some time.
I think they're burned out.
I wouldn't say that they're reputable in the fact that they're not unreputable. I don't know anything about them. But they've been doing the awards for a long time. And in the past, I've looked at the pictures and gone, some of these are interesting. But in this case, I think they failed miserably on many, many occasions. I think this year's winners were awful. Absolutely awful. Let's see if I got any. I think I got some emails from you guys. Let me just check to make sure where my email. I want to send a big shout out to Barbara Walchko. Barbara, I'm sorry if I'm saying your name right. She gave us a $10 donation.
Thank you, Barbara.
Just a donation. Just send us $10.
Lovely.
Thanks very much, Barbara.
Thank you. Where does Barbara live?
I don't know. It just says Barbara Walchko.
That's
sent
lovely.
you $10. So I told Barbara, next time we go get flat whites, it's on her. So thank you very much, Barbara,
Thank you.
for that. Also want to send a shout out to a new old listener, Jason Spears. I posted something about that awful Facebook photo that Instagram. I posted a photo of Melissa on Instagram and then told Instagram, yeah, send it to Facebook too, because I keep forgetting.
Yeah, I do that too.
That transfer process destroys the photo.
Oh, it's awful.
It made Melissa look like she had some kind of disease.
It was
skin
horrible.
disease
I was
on her
like,
chest.
oh my gosh.
It was terrible. I posted that in Jared Spears in Evergreen, Colorado. We communicated back and forth, and he said, "By the way, I missed your old podcast you did back in 2010ish. I always look forward to those when they download on my iPad. Those were the days." I said, "You know I still do that podcast, right?" And he was like, "Oh, okay.
We've got a few years to catch up on.
Consider me an old new subscriber, my good sir." So, Jared, welcome back to your
Jared.
Mac life.
Wonder what happened.
Yeah, no kidding. Our friend Don Beck, with all this talk about Apple having people listen to a few of Siri's comments, this is Don Beck in Martha's Vineyard. I'm reminded of this meme I saw a month or so ago that still makes me laugh. My wife asked me why I spoke so softly in the house. I said I was afraid Mark Zuckerberg was listening. She laughed. I laughed. Alexa laughed. Siri laughed. Bob Gerard said, a neighbor asked me this question. I gave her this answer. Is the best, safest place to buy an extra iPhone charger cord or block adapter at the Apple store? Basically, Apple cords for what they charge are fucking awful. Okay, we've had 3 break just this week. One that is only ever used on Wednesday evenings to attach this phone to this laptop. It doesn't get abused. It doesn't get done anything, and it's broken.
It's on the floor now.
Rory has had his iPhone cable snap in the usual frickin' place. I've got my iPad cable over there, which is plugged in not only 24/7, it has been for the 2 years I've lived here. So that plug doesn't move. And it's frayed and broken in the usual place.
I've frayed many of them and tried to wrap them up with tape to keep them going.
It's unsafe. So it makes people go and buy a new cord. And when you see that Apple wants to charge you, let's say, $30 for that cord, and Amazon will give it to you for $8, you're going to buy it from Amazon. The problem is a ridiculous number of those Amazon cords, even if it says from Apple, are fake Chinese knockoffs, and they're not good. They can cause problems. They can cause overheating. When you plug your iPhone cable into your iPhone, when your iPhone gets fully charged up, the cable will stop charging. It won't keep pumping electricity in. The Chinese knockoffs don't have that circuitry. Some of them don't have that circuitry. So it'll keep pumping juice in your phone until it explodes or burns or whatever.
Oh, my God.
But Apple charges so freaking much for their cables, it kind of forces people to go to the Chinese knockoff. So find a middle ground. Anker is a very good company. I trust Anker. I trust their product. Nomad is a company that I've used. Right now, this iPhone is being plugged in with what's called a universal cable. Nomad makes this gorgeous braided cable that's a mini USB, a lightning cable, and another one I never use, but it's got 3 connectors on it that you can plug into. And it's extra long. It's like, I think it's like 1.5 meters. It's a huge long cable. I just noticed that Nomad is now offering you a free cable. Now, it's only for those folks in the United States. It's for everybody, but shipping outside the U.S. is $30. What you do is you go to hellonomad.com is their website. I don't know if it's linked on the front page of their website, but this is a really good deal. They'll give you a free cable. You donate $5 to carbonfund.org. Nomad will make sure that 100% of your donation goes to Carbon Fund. And then they'll send you a free cable. You can donate $20, $10, $5. $5, they'll plant 5 trees on your behalf. $10, they'll plant 10 trees on your behalf. $20, they'll plant 20 trees on your behalf. It's a 1.5 meter lightning cable, and for $5, you get a free cable, and they'll plant 5 trees for you. That's a great deal. That's a fantastic thing to do. I wish I could do it, but I don't want to save the planet that much. I'm going to spend $30 in shipping. But if you're in the States, hellonomad.com, or send me an email. And I trust these guys' cables. They're designed differently than Apple's. This Nomad Universal cable that I've been using for more than a year now looks brand new. And
What's the one we use in the car? Is that a Nomad one?
It's also a Nomad one. The Nomad cable gets used every day. Things get plugged into it constantly. My vape, my iPhone, the iPad, all kinds of devices. It travels with me. I'll roll it up, and that way I don't have to take 3 cables with me. I only take the one. And yet it looks the exact same as the day it got shipped here. So screw you, Apple, and your shitty cables, and how much you charge for those shitty cables.
Very surprising.
Folks, that's it for tonight's show. I want to say thanks, as always, to you guys for being tuned in. Thanks for a good friend, Jim Dalrymple at The Loop at loopinsight.com, for being here each and every week, even though he really doesn't want to. I know he doesn't. You can tell. I'm kidding. Thanks very much to my beautiful wife, Melissa, for your question of the week.
Oh.
It's a good question. It was very timely. That's the important thing. It was a timely question.
Oh.
What else? Anything else? Nothing else?
I don't think so.
Our apologies for not doing a show last week. Hopefully this one made up for it. Otherwise, sorry. Until next week, as always, I've been Shawn King.
I'm Melissa King.
And you've been listening to Your Mac Life. See ya!